Hello everyone, and welcome to the Biggening Corporation. We are on episode 22 today. And what we are going to dive into today is talking a bit about location purchasing and some of the settings related to that. We've got purchasing bots buying things for locations, and we've got logistics bots now theoretically receiving things into locations. So the next logical thing in my mind is to make sure that the player can go ahead and acquire more locations. That seems like a fine next step. And I do want to swing back to what we were looking at the very end of the day yesterday. We were running into some errors, and I wanted to check in on the progress of what the bots have been doing behind the scenes. I have peeked a little bit, which is why we have a secondary goal about player error logging. Right now, our bots, when they're taking along, they record all of their activity to a player-oriented activity log. But then we have the error log that is meant for the system administrator. Well, there are error conditions that the player might care about, and the system administrator would go, that's a player problem. For example, we capped our location inventory, and we might be able to hit the point where we're receiving inventory, or trying to, and we've hit that cap. To me, that is an error condition that a player would want to know about separately from the usual activity pulses. But we don't have the infrastructure for that, so we're probably going to fix that today. A small side note for those of you following along, I had previously mentioned the idea of potentially putting the roadmap into Trello for having a basic little kind of Kanban approach to getting what are we doing type things up and put together. And I realized that I was missing an opportunity and something obvious. This entire project is built in GitHub and built around GitHub, and while I have not used GitHub projects before, that would be exactly the functionality it does. So while Trello is very useful and very decent and good in a lot of ways, why not just make use of projects? So that's something that I will probably dive into in the near future. Alright, so as I mentioned yesterday where we left things off, we had our receiving bots ticking along, and I wasn't sure exactly what they were doing, because if we looked in our activity log, we sort to look at the most recent things, we can see from a player perspective there isn't anything here. It's like the logistics bot that we have is not doing anything. So we have a little bit of a problem there in that as a player, I would want to see what have my bots been up to, and I've got no data. And then separately, from a system administrative point of view, we've got quite a bit since yesterday's stream. Warnings all over the place about the location is too full, effectively, and it's been trying to receive over and over again on any given day and having no luck. That's not something that a system administrator needs to deal with, but it is what we're dealing with when we capture errors in our logs. So we're going to need to fix things around a little bit. I'm thinking that the player activity log will have a new early on option field. We'll go ahead and make it an option for now. We'll call it success or failure. And if the error is of a type that we would want the player to deal with, then we may need to log that a little bit differently. So we're going to have to think about how the bot dispatcher is capturing error messages. So that might be an interesting challenge for us. Okay, well, regardless of that, we apparently have the need for some location logic here, because players need to be able to go, my warehouse that we built yesterday, it's full, or approaching capacity. And if we drill down on that, we can see that our logistics bot was ticking along in the behind the scenes here, just adding and adding and adding to all of our inventory here. All of our, still at the moment, I believe, randomly hard-coded, and we don't have any logic in place to stop the purchasing bots automatically once we've reached a certain capacity of items. So we really could use the ability to create new locations from a player perspective. Now, obviously, at the moment, I can just hit new, but we don't want players to be able to do that. So that puts us in an interesting intersection. We're going to need players to not have permission to create new locations. So when we create the permission set, we need locations to be modify only, but not insert. And that means that we need to create a new function for the location list or something like that, that instead allows the player to invoke code that will generate a new location. And we can assign the permission to the code itself, and that'll allow the player to execute that function and create new locations. Now, what we had talked about is that we are going to have two different types of locations, and that is basic versus advanced. So I don't think we need to have a full-fledged wizard sort of handling, but we do need a little bit of information to work with. And I apologize, I don't know what window I had still open. But we are going to have maximum bots and maximum units on both types of locations, and these are not going to be editable. These need to come from a setting somewhere, and to me that is a perfectly logical thing to live again on our game setup. This is going to be kind of our master balance of where do we control the levers of things. So we are going to add some game setup options for locations. We may want to add some code that updates the locations that already exist throughout the system if the administrator changes these settings, which we'll give an optional override on. And then we will need a function on the location list to generate a new location in the correct way. I believe we have created the player information section on the location card, but we need to get a handle on the is admin editable style of approach to the location card. We have not done that to the item yet because I haven't scoped out all the different fields we might want to lock down, but we can do that pretty quickly and easily on the location card. And for us, we will lock general. Honestly, I think we'll be locking all of them until we discover otherwise. Yeah. We will have eventually some custom code on the upgrade code that will add an assist edit here to allow people to select which upgrades are in inventory to apply to this location. But that does not require this section to be editable either. Oh. In that case, honestly, the player doesn't need to be able to edit these locations at all. Except for maybe if we want to let them name different locations so that way they can keep track a little better of, maybe this is my fabric warehouse. Fabric Central. So let's do that. We'll go ahead. We'll take a quick swing at modifying the card and saying that all of these other sections are non-editable, and we'll also flag all of those non-editable. I don't believe we have a location number series. Negative. We do not have a location number series. Okay. So we will need to also update our routine that copies over all of the game setup needs to I haven't done anything about copying over the number series setup information from our master company as well. Boy, I need to get that GitHub up and running, the project section. The advantage, if anyone is curious, is that as people report issues, we can also have a separate little project board and track the flow of whether or not we've addressed those. Same for pull requests. So there's some automation advantage for us to putting in GitHub, even if we potentially lose a little bit of some of the checklisting functionality. So, yeah, let's location. Create that, and players can probably go pretty nuts with this, but I'm just going to keep it somewhat simple here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, great. And super. Okay, increment by 1. Yep, you're all fine. Default numbers. I don't think there's a number series table for inventory. There is for item numbers. I don't think there is for locations. So that's interesting. Wonder how we'll handle that. Alright. And we want on insert. There is no on insert code. Wow. News to me, there is no code on location for on insert. That's neat. Alright, so we're going to have to write our own little call to the number series management to pull from the number series for locations. That's a little interesting. Okay, so that means we also need to have on our game setup the location number series. Which, since we are going to copy all of our number series across the company walls, it's fine that we're using the same code across all the companies. So if we go into our game setup here, we're going to have a new batch of fields around locations. So 40 sounds fine. Location number series. Great. And that's one of our old friends, code 20. Cool. And always system metadata in our little solution. There's lots of things that would not be if this were a real project, well, a real customer-facing project. Table relation to equal to number series. That's nice and simple there. Okay, so we know that in our location we want to have a maximum bots and a maximum units for each of the two types of locations that we are going to support as rough, simple template type situations. So let's do nice and easy 44 basic location max bots. And this can be an integer because we should never have a partial bot. Sure. And we don't need any other special settings around this, although I think aesthetically it'll make more sense if we have blank 0 on. It'll be more obvious that it's not set. And then we will do the same for max basic location max stock, which I will do integer as well. That's fine. Okay, I believe if we look at location table max units, I did do a decimal there. Okay, let's be consistent with our units of measure. I believe that's for a couple of good reasons, but that's fine. We'll just do it. Okay, so that's straightforward. And then we also need 46, 47. We want for our advanced location. Okay. Advanced location and advanced location. One of the things I admit I don't recall off the top of my head. Let's see. Now, interestingly, when we looked at our document here, we have basic and advanced for the logistics and connection to those locations of those same types. I noted down here in manufacturing that higher value items are created by bots in manufacturing locations. These require fulfillment from advanced logistics locations. I'm almost inclined to say that this is overcomplicating this, and that we're better off just saying that manufacturing need to be in advanced locations rather than having a third location type specifically for manufacturing. That'll greatly decrease the complexity later when we're trying to do inventory movements through work centers. If we're having to bounce between two different locations between operations and manufacturing, that won't be fun. So we're going to change this right here, right now. And we're going to strike through that and say advanced logistics locations. First change I've made to this doc in a long time. So, okay. That'll keep things a little simple for how we're handling things. And that way, too, if someone wants to change the balance of their advanced logistics location over time, they can. They maybe have like 5 logistics bots and 2 manufacturing, or they might, bounce that around a little bit. We could go a couple different ways with that. But that should be fine. So that gets us some game setup info that we're going to add to here. We're going to make a new section for our location. And then we need our field. And we want to have, first of all, the location number series. We want to have our basic location max bots, and then our basic location max stock. Keeping the basic set together, I think makes more sense. And then we'll do our advanced location in the same order so we don't confuse ourselves. Bots and stock. Great. Okay, that's straightforward enough. Now, what I did mention earlier when talking about setting up these fields was the idea that if we change these settings, we should ask the system administrator if they want to update the related fields in the existing companies, because as a system admin, if I change the maximum number of bots in basic locations from, say, 3 to 6 or 6 to 3 or whatever have you, it would be kind of terrible if all of the existing locations, that rule still applied and there was nothing I could do about it but go through each and every company. That sounds terrible. Okay, so let's see. What's the most efficient way to do this? Let's try and decide if we should make any sort of function to do this. We're definitely going to need a message to ask. Update location settings. I think QST is the official token for the label. I think there's a rule about the tokens, and I don't remember what they are. There, yep, token. Question. Perfect. Because I'm going to do a confirm, so QST. Yay, I remembered it. Okay, update %1 in all companies. That sounds good. Okay, so in our scenario here, we're definitely doing an on trigger, or on validate trigger, where if this has changed from in any way, we want to update that. What's the most useful way to functionalize this? Wonder if we should do a funky little field reference thing here, just for the sake of demonstrating that for the sake of it, really. Probably not that bananas crazy. Let's not dive into that just yet. But we'll still do a local procedure update all fields. Let's call it update all locations, and then we'll say which field number. And we're going to need location. And we're going to want to do this for all of the player companies, not necessarily all companies. They're related, but not necessarily the same. Player companies is a subset of companies, after all. So BC player. Okay, and yeah, so what we're going to have is a case which field of, and then we've got over here on our location table, which if we break that right and close this up so we've got a little room, we are talking max units, max bots. Something of note is that there's no field on the location as we've extended it to distinguish between whether something is basic or advanced. And the way that I'm probably going to handle that is just a flag on if something is requiring receive. Because when we do create the workflow for the advanced locations, we are going to set require receive, require shipment, require put away. We're going to do the full warehousing flow, require pick, all that fun stuff. So we're just going to check for that first value. I think that's acceptable as a quick, simple check. Which, that raises an interesting point. We might want a separate number series for the locations that are basic versus advanced, but we'll ignore that for now. I think we can just sequence them. That's okay. All right. No. Let's stay focused. Stay focused. The hard part here. Finish the function we're in the middle of writing. All right. So we are going to say, are we updating the maximum units or the maximum bots? That's interesting. I'm just noticing linguistic choices of we've got maximum units, total stock, and I feel like, yeah, okay, I use that language consistently, so that's a little weird. Okay, well, alright. Maximum stock. Yeah, okay. We need to make sure that our field names are somewhat logically even across all these. So our game setup table, we should really be calling this maximum units because that matches the maximum units. Yeah, we should call this maximum units. Stock is the flow field of what's in inventory. The maximum units is what's actually in the cap here. Okay. Sure. Great. We're going to be updating those related fields. Okay. Just trying to think of Yep. And that's going to do what I want it to do. I'm just thinking how we're presenting the message to the user in question. Trying to give it some thought. And I am super distracted by a non-stop cacophony of screaming in the background from the playground outside. Not very good for my brain. Okay, so we have maximum units, and we are going to let's split this out. We'll call it update all basic locations and update all. Nope, that would be duplicating code, and you should not do that. All right. Update. Yeah, that's the way to go here. We're gonna do update and all basic locations across companies. There we go. That will make this make more sense. Advanced locations across companies. All right. Jeez. If confirm update basic locations. So if basic, then if confirm, which I think will default to true, then I'm currently dealing with the fact that my workflow here is completely not parsing my begin ends correctly. It's not a happy camper with me. It's confused about what I'm doing. Okay, so if we confirm that all of the basic locations, we want to update them, and we're going to update all the maximum units, then, okay. And we will, I think, do a quick little sub function on this because we want to have the same iterative code. Yep. Yeah. wish I was not quite so mentally distracted today. It's not producing the best of code here. Update locations, var location, location, begin. We're going to move the player call here. Cut to you. And we are going to here location.setRange on require receive. That's going to be our key flag between basic and advanced. We will update locations with our filtered location set, and we should pass it which field number and the new value. So we also need the new value in here. So new value decimal. So we need to pass the same info on through here. I, generally speaking, prefer to break apart the functional flow of things from any user interaction, which is why I'm doing a separate little function call to we're potentially presenting yes-no situations and then handing things through to this. It's a lot easier to test the functional workflow if you have the user questions be separate. At least that's been my experience. Someone else might tell me otherwise. Okay, so we're going to update locations and we'll send it off to which field and new value. Great. Then here we need an else because now we're doing the advanced. You'll notice that my set range there, I didn't actually, set any range on it. So, nope, I wanted that if. Okay, so set range on this to false and set range on this to true. Great. And given the structure of how I've written this split, we don't need to care about which field number at this stage. That's neat. I'm going to copy this code because we're going to make use of it down here. Alright, and then we can clean this up a whole bunch. So we don't care which field numbers are involved in this function anymore. Great, and we need that semicolon out of here. Excellent. And I'm guessing this is losing its mind here on this case scenario because we didn't actually do anything inside of here. So this end should be indented there, and then we'd be okie doke. So now we know for sure we've already got it, so we can loop through if player.findSet. We're not modifying it. Then repeat. All right. That finally cleared up the syntax errors, so I could save it and let the formatting flow through it. So now we say, okay, we're going to loop through all of the player company, all of the player entries, and now what we want to do is we say, okay, if we're updating which field and the which field is the maximum units, we want to do a location.change company to player.company name. So that way we're in the player company. If I am a little fuzzy on if that set range will persist across the company change, but I think so. I hope so. Let's find out. Location. If we find any locations, and we are definitely modifying this. Thankfully, we're not filtering on a key. We are going to update the location.maximum units to equal the new value. And modify. There's no code on this, so we don't need to validate or do any true at this stage. And not doing so will minimize how much we're potentially cascading changes and that sort of thing. Minimizing performance hit. Always good. Cool. So now, let me copy this on down. Maximum bots, and there we are. So now all we need to do is hook those procedures up. So we do trigger on validate, begin, and we're going to do update all locations. And for this, we need to pass it in. Which field are we updating? What's the new value? And is this a basics call? Which it's that last part we know it's going to be. So location.field number maximum bots. The new value is our basic maximum bots and true. So now we have a nice little one-liner function call that we can copy and paste and update. In this case, we are looking to update the maximum units for all of the basics. And we will do the same for advanced. Perfect. We don't need that cluttering up our screen here. So yeah, we'll just copy that on down here. Okay, so a little bit convoluted. I'm not sure I talked y'all through what I was doing in a smart way, but we have minimized the amount of repeated code for each of these field calls and differentiated what we're potentially presenting to the user as a heads up. So we can test this just as is, so let's do so. Yes, I changed the name of the field, so it is a little confused. Great. Sure. I don't need to debug, so. Okay. Yep. It's publishing along in the background at the moment. Chug, chug, chug. You can do it. There we go. And now we've got our new location settings. Location. All right. So now for our basic maximum bots, if we said 10, let's give a lot of room. We did not pass the caption correctly into the confirm message, which is true, but we do get the message about do we want to update all the basic locations across companies to 10. So let's say yes. Well, let's see what happened. Waiting for it to load. Let's go to our location list. We should do a report section. You probably saw me going for it. No. Check this out. Boom. Maximum bots 10. across all those locations. Perfect. Now let's make sure that when we change the advanced setup that does not affect those. Let's say advanced locations can have 25 bots for now. That gave us the same message about basic, which means we called the wrong variable when I copied and pasted the code. Makes sense. And probably copied and pasted in a whole bunch of wrong ways because there we are with maximum 25. All right, quick review of what did we do. So first of all, we want to update advanced. Update. Yeah, ADB. We also should do the location dot field caption, which I don't think we've used before on stream here, but it's really a good way to do things. So maximum bots in this case. I was going to say, this takes a field, and I was trying to be clever and be able to dynamically present the right caption, but I think that's not going to be our success in this. I'm going to be lazy and pass in the field caption as a parameter up here, so that way we can drive that. We could, again, do a field reference and get it, but... So field caption, it takes a field and spits back the caption for that field, regardless, to match the language that you're in. Pretty straightforward, but pretty useful when you're presenting info and you're wanting to be multi-language friendly. I would like to be in a position where we can allow pull requests to submit translation files for this project to other languages. So it's good to be multi-language friendly as much as we can right from the get-go here. So now in our call, we can use our field caption parameter, which I'm being a little risky with. I've named the variable, you know, I'm not going to do that. I named it the same as a function. That can lead to a lot of confusion, probably best avoided. Okay, so now one of the things that I noticed was that we called the advanced. And why is that? Because we said basic true up here in these function calls, which that is not the case. These should be false. And this is the advantage sometimes of using enums, so we would have had a little more clarity into are we calling with a basic or advanced. So I maybe should have set up something on that. Error, error, error. Package cannot be created. Update all locations. Yes, because I only fixed 2 of my 4 function calls. Always good to look on your right-hand side to see if you've actually resolved all your errors before you try to publish. Yes, I suppose. Reality of dev life. Sometimes you're at your sharpest, sometimes you're not. Just like the speed of which this publisher is going. A little sluggish. We won't hold against it, so am I. Okay. So, we know that we told it 25 for advanced bots and that wasn't what we wanted. Let's say 50 for giggles. And that was sort of interesting. We didn't get any message whatsoever. Well, that's wrong. It's good that it didn't update the maximum bots. That's correct, but the fact that we got no message whatsoever is incorrect. Oh, yeah, that would do it. Guess what? This else is chained off of this if, not that if. Okay. See, the way I would fix this is wrapping this whole big thing in a begin end, so that way there was clarity. But I suspect that code cop might disagree. No? Well, I don't have code cop turned on, but I meant the syntax checking. We'll see how much that flies later. Publish. Go. Okay. So we'll go to our advanced here, and we'll say 30. Do we want to update the maximum bots in all advanced locations across companies? Yeah, sure. Now if we go to our location, we see that should not have affected any of them. Perfect. Now if we tell this our maximum bots is 15, yes. I personally would rather see it down at 10. I just needed to change it to not something it was. Okay, and there we are. So now we have administrative control over how much our warehouses can hold. I'm going to make the advanced ones be much bigger. Sure, why not? Cool. And now the 2500 instead of 2000, so that worked correctly. This one was previously on 100 as a test. So over the course of the next few minutes, we'll see these are going to tick up the total stock again. Okay. Well, now we kind of got stuck in the weeds on some of that, so that's a little annoying. We need a relatively simple function that will be our location creation code. Should be relatively simple, but we also need to manually do some of the location numbering, and we also have to leave some functionality to potentially charge a player, which I don't think we did in the bot purchasing. In our bot purchase page, I don't think we have any logic that is currently charging players. Nope. Okay. Okay. So yeah, purchase bot, we validate, we insert, we don't charge for it. Okay. So yeah, look, that seems fine. We've got the location checks code unit. I'm going to rename this to location management, and then we can have a couple of little functions in here, much like bot management. There we go. That'll confuse my GitHub repo a little, but that's okay. Okay, so we'll create a quick procedure in here called purchase location, and The more and more I'm working through this, the more I'm regretting not doing this as an enum, but we'll work with it for now. Boolean. Okay, so we know that we're going to need, first of all, we will definitely need game setup as a record, so we can go get some info. We are definitely going to need number series management, which is a code unit. That's going to be our friend for numbering the series, and we will also need the location table, obviously. Okay. Location is not declared as anything, so at this stage we can simply go ahead, do location code is equal to number series management dot get next number. Now get next number is definitely our friend for this. We are going to pass it which number series. We have to pass it what date is involved because some number series lines can be date driven, and we have to tell it whether or not to modify the series after this function call, which we will tell it sure we would like that. So nice and simple. We will do a get. We will want to I don't think we need to stress doing a test field, but let's sure, just to be thorough, I guess. So get next number, game setup, location number series, work date, and true. And away we go, we get our location code. Now the location.name, we'll set that to be if basic, then actually let's do begin and end. We'll set a bunch of things real quick. If basic, then location name is basic plus the location code, and players can rename the location however they would like to. And for this we need a wee bit of data. We don't need a lot. Locations are kind of cool that way. We're not using bins for this, so advanced is going to need a whole lot of stuff. We're going to need all sorts of bins and all manner of things, but for the basic location we just need really the maximum bots and the maximum units. That's easy enough. We can insert, and I'm going to move the insert call, which we should always do true. I'm going to move the insert call down here because we aren't going to do anything special with it that is basic versus advanced specific after this point. One thing we do need is we will need the inventory posting setup for this location and whatnot, which for the moment to do we should probably have that be something that is coming from a setup table somewhere as well. Easy enough. We want the location, inventory, posting groups are the primary key, and our chart of accounts for the moment is going to be hard-coded, but we'll definitely need to do some settings around that on game setup under our new location section. So we'll do a special little tidy up episode where we fix some of these things up. So inventory setup is not what I wanted. I wanted inventory posting setup. Confusing myself. Let's make sure our variable is named in a logical way for that as well, so we don't confuse ourselves down here. Is equal to our location code, and as I said, for now, item. Inventory account. For right this second, it looks like a number, but it is a code. Cool. That is that. So now we've got a very little tiny function call, and we will of course want to, at the beginning of this, we will eventually need to have some functionality that will watch. Did I confuse it? There it goes. Okay, it was still flagging this as an error, so we will want to have something that deducts prices, but we haven't put any code in to charge players for anything yet, and we are probably not going to start here. So let's very quickly see if we can wrap things up with a new action up on the inventory list. Inventory list? Why is this called inventory? It's the location list. Oy. I was not paying attention that day. Alright. Gonna love it when you leave time bombs for yourself. Alright, so on our inventory... Wow, I'm even doing it now. On our location list, we're going to add a new action. I'm not sure necessarily where to. Let's see where it makes sense. Creation sounds fine. Sure. Okay, so for this action, we've got the code unit set up in a way that it takes a Boolean, so we are going to need to present to the user the question of, do you want a basic or an advanced location? So we're going to need, as part of that trigger, we'll need some messaging that presents the user with a simple list of two options, which if you have not used it, there is a short little handy function for that, so we'll do that in just a moment. We'll call it purchase location. I think by location will make less confusing things. Tooltip, acquire a new location for inventory for a price. Sure. That sounds like a decent tooltip, right? Promoted. Yep, absolutely. Promoted is big. Sure. I still am curious what that actually does in our in the world of the Windows web client only. And I think we can put that into the promoted category. New. Sure. And we do need an image. And I thought there was going to be a new location. Ooh, new warehouse. Delightful. That's a great button for that. Okay, so a quick trigger on action. Now, let's see. Which location QST, I believe, is still our token for this job? Yeah, it sure is. Cool. QST label. And Which type of location do you wish to purchase? Buy. Okay, and then I'm going to have a basic token. And partially this is just for translatability. It's easier to translate these little tokens more consistently. Advanced token. So later on when we're using a translation tool, any instances of basic or advanced can be replaced more smoothly, and we're going to combine all that stuff together in just a moment. Cool. All right, so, oh, and of course we need the location management code unit that we just made. Or, I guess not made, but updated. Cool. All right, so when the user pushes this, we want to present them with a quick little question to say which type do you want to buy. Much like the receive an invoice, we're going to use the same system, which is known as string menu. This is a teeny little functionality piece that takes a list of options, a default number, and some instructional text, and returns what did the user pick. So we will combine our basic token plus a comma plus advanced token. The comma is used as the separator for the option members, but it is effectively just a text variable. So we'll pass that, and our default will be, I think we can say 0 to not pick anything by default, but I'm not so sure about that, so we'll see what happens. And then last but not least, the instructional text. Now, this, yeah, it can't bring this back. So what we're going to do is we are going to get back some sort of integer based on what they've suggested. Now we could do an if equals blah blah blah, but the possibility is there that somebody could hit cancel, and with string menu method, cancel is a different value. Yeah, if you omit this parameter, it uses 1 as default. Okay, so it always use 1. So if the user hit cancel, it's going to be 0. So we're going to get back 0, 1, or 2. So if's a little awkward, and we'll use our case. Case of 1. Then we want to BCS location management dot purchase location true, because we take a boolean of whether or not it's basic. If it is 2, you can, I believe, just single line these like this, but I think it'll auto-complete that once we save and bump it down. And then we don't have to do anything at all with the case of 0. We don't want to do anything at that stage. It's interesting to me that it's highlighting this red. I don't think the syntax highlighting really likes the case statements very much. Okay, so perfect. Good. And as usual, in our handling of things, we do all of this and then we give no feedback to the user. I don't like that. I think we absolutely should, again, open up the location in question. When I did the bot creation, I think, no, it was the vendor. When we converted the prospect to a vendor, I just did page.run 0, and I noticed it opened up the vendor list, not the vendor card. So I don't like that from a workflow. So I'm going to location card, set the location card to the resulting location, and then open that one. Okay, location card, set record location, and run. Cool. So that way if the user goes through with the purchase, then they're all set. They get the location. That way they can tweak the name. That probably won't be very helpful to them. So there we go. Let's publish that, and we'll attempt to buy our first location using our new template, or settings at the very least. Come along. I'd like to wrap the episode on that, and I guess we will fix up the user error message system tomorrow. I'll probably be creating a new error type enum for that, so that way people can have extensible logging systems for player information and add their own types later if they want. Alright, so locations, here we are. So we can now do by location. And again, for those who are coming in late at all, new is going to be hidden from players. So by location, and now we get a which location type do you want to buy. If we cancel, it correctly does nothing. If we do a basic location, say OK, boop, we get our auto-numbered basic location, and we do correctly get the maximum bots and units. Great. We should be able to flag these back to non-editable now. We're pretty done testing these, and we have the ability to change them via our game setup. And for laughs, even though we don't do anything with it, I just want to see that nothing happens. If we say advanced, we should... interesting. Okay. So we end up with the record... Yes, that makes sense. I set the name in here and the maximum bots and everything, but then insert here. So, okay, yeah, that's perfect. That's fine. We have lots more settings to do for the advanced location. All right, and if we check this, did we get an inventory posting group? We did. Perfect. Okay, well, we hit our primary goal. We have some settings control over the way locations are going to cap out, whether it be by bots or inventory, and we have the ability to correctly purchase them. Right now, everything is still running under the $0 handling. Or is, whatever our currency might be. So we have some work to do there. My thinking is when we get to the point where we're able to sell and generate some revenue, that'll be the point where we start to finally decrement the revenue. And the nice thing about this is I think we can, using the eventing system, make purchasing integrated in a really, really simple way, that we can potentially have just a simple code unit that says, hey, I'm going to buy something for, 1,000, whatever. Do I have the revenue for it? And that way we can let extensions potentially handle that in whatever the fashion they want to override it, rather than have it just be inaccessible entirely. So that'll be good. And once we're at that point too, we'll also look at billing the player for power usage. So I think we'll bump our secondary goal to tomorrow's primary goal, because I still very much think that we need to be able to give to the player some insight into the activities of their bots and issues that are coming up within their own system, for a lot more clarity. This is very chatty, so I'm not sure this is a very functional log. It's useful from a diving perspective, but as we can see, the research bots by themselves generate a lot of chatter. I think this will be useful for analytics, so I'm disinclined to shut it off, but I think we need a new message type, and that way we can let extensions insert their own message types using an enumerator, and we can also create some error handlers that notify players of problems. So, yeah, that seems like a pretty good place to wrap for the day. We have location purchasing. So we'll dive into error logging tomorrow. We'll probably finish up that pretty quickly. So I think we'll start improving the player role center, since the player role center at the moment, it consists of, I believe, just a count of bots, which is not a lot of info to work on. Yep. So we'll probably adjust the player role center as well. So that sounds pretty good. All right, and Friday there is an event at the same time as the stream, so I will probably bow out and refer people to go to that event. The BC Beerinar, they're very good place to go if you are wanting to find out about just some different topics. There are going to be some good discussions on Friday regarding design patterns, and I suspect probably we'll go into a little more detail about the just announced today BC Hackathon. So I'll be very curious to see how that develops. They're currently fetching ideas for what people should have to build. It will be a 48-hour development challenge. This will be happening in November. You can join up with teams, or you can join up with solo, but at the very least, throwing some ideas to the pile will be a good thing. They're accepting ideas all the way up till the middle of October, and registration all the way up till the 30th of October. So you can keep an eye on what's out here, and I know I'm going to be taking part of that. Some people correctly pointing out this project would have probably been a good fit. We have not yet used up 48 hours of development in the stream, so maybe a lighter version would be something acceptable, but so far so good. We'll see where we're at in 48 hours. Alright, everyone. Well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.